Hi, everyone. My name is Galila Yosef. I'm the Marketing and Strategic Partnership Specialist here at CI National, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's HOA Live webinar. The HOA Live webinar series is your opportunity to participate in a 30-minute product-focused forum featuring insights from industry experts and provides a virtual space to connect with CAI National Corporate members, business partners, and industry leaders. Please note that this webinar is not part of CAI's professional development offerings, and it does not provide continuing education credits. Instead, HOA Live allows you to learn about new and differentiated products, tools, and best practices, highlighting everything from product launches to sale promotions and more. At the end of the presentation, we'll open the floor for Q&A. As a participant, your audio is muted, but you're welcome to submit your questions at any time using the chat or the Q&A panel, and we will read them out loud at the end. A recording of this session will also be sent to all registrants and will be posted on hoaresources.com. Today, we are very pleased to welcome GetQuorum, a CAI partner who will be presenting on the topic of the Quorum Catalyst, eliminating community governance bottlenecks with technology. I'll now turn it over to Ben and Erika to kick off today's presentations.
Thank you so much, Galila, and hello, everyone. My name, as mentioned, is Ben Zelikovitz, and I am one of the co-founders of GetQuorum. We're an electronic voting, virtual meeting, and digital governance platform that's designed specifically for condos and HOAs. I co-founded GetQuorum over 10 years ago now, after my personal experience as a condo owner soured. I became embroiled in a community-wide plumbing project that was being poorly managed by my board. The dispute morphed into a proxy fight for control of the board. It spilled into court-ordered mediation, got kind of ugly, and at the end, we ended up forcing the removal of the board of directors. So during this process, I must have canvassed my community a dozen times for signatures and to spread my message. On the other side of this dispute, I found myself on the board of my condo, where I managed it for many years as a board member. And it was during that time that we came to appreciate the importance of best practices in community governments. And together with a co-board member, that's how GetQuorum was created. I'll share a little bit more details on GetQuorum later. However, the true star here, as she would even say for herself, is my co-host today, Erika. The VP of Digital Transformation at Alliant. Erika, I'm going to pump your tires for a bit. I hope you don't mind if I introduce you here. So I'm thrilled to have Erika here to share her experience and knowledge. Erika, CAMs, board members are where the rubber really meets the road, so to speak, with respect to practical application of digital governance. Erika is an up-the-ranks transformational leader in property management, and she's performed almost every role there is within community management. So, Erika, thank you for joining me and being here. I'm excited for you to share your perspective towards the end of the presentation. As Galila had noted, webinar should last about 30 minutes, inclusive of the Q&A. Nice and quick for you all. There's a Q&A button at the bottom or the top of your screen. Please feel free to put your questions in there, and we'll address them towards the end of the presentation. So by way of agenda, we've already introduced our panel. So from here, we'll do a quick review of GetQuorum. Then we'll dive into some definitions, principles, trends, and challenges in the governance space. From there, we'll discuss technical solutions that are available for digital governance and provide some clarity around electronic voting and virtual meetings and how they all interact. And then lastly, and most importantly, Erika's segment from the perspective of a CAM, followed by our Q&A period. So I've shared that I was once a condo owner, turned into a disgruntled condo owner, and then became a board member, and that led to founding GetQuorum. So I'll give you a quick background on what my software, what our business does. So we think of ourselves as the largest and most innovative digital governance platform specific to the condo and HOA space in North America. We've been operating for over 10 years, and we provide best-in-class electronic voting solutions, meeting notice distribution services, and where we really start to get different is that we also provide a virtual meeting platform that can be used for your annual general meetings, your elections, town halls. It can be used for regular board meetings, special situations, and whatnot. On top of the virtual meeting platform, we have a suite of tools to help facilitate hybrid meetings. Those are meetings with both an in-person and virtual component. At this time, I have approximately 30 employees working at GetQuorum, and we start early in the morning in the East Coast, and we work all the way until meetings are over in the West Coast. So support for everyone across North America, have served about 2,200 communities. We are a Zoom ISV partner, so when I discuss the virtual meeting platform, it is powered by Zoom, so it looks a lot like what you see here today. And we're a proud members of many CAI chapters across the country. And so while we have really awesome technology, most of our customers will tell you that they really like our service-based approach to what makes us best in the business. All right, so let's get into the meat of the presentation here. What is governance and how does it apply to our communities? So let's start with some definitions and review some of the core principles of good governance. So in my opinion, and if you were to Google it and maybe use AI, it'll tell you that good governance ensures ethical, transparent, and effective operations of communities, of publicly traded companies, of government. This is a broad definition. Some of the principles that come along with good governance are accountability, which means that decision makers are answerable to their stakeholders and their shareholders, and in this instance, obviously to owners. Transparency, so information, processes and decisions are open and accessible to those that are affected by them. I think of board meetings, I think of minutes, I think of all of the requisitionable materials that boards and property managers need to make sure that they have to ensure that if there are ever challenges to decisions that they've made, these are things that you need to have. Rule of law. So the rules of a condominium, of a community, should apply to all owners equally. Participation and inclusivity. So all stakeholders, including minorities and marginalized groups, should have an opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. Effectiveness and efficiency. We want to make sure that we are producing and acting in the best interest of the community. That is the goal of a board. A board should be responsive, and there should be equity, meaning that every individual has a fair and equal opportunity to participate in and benefit from the operations of their community. So that is a broad definition of governance and some of the principles that are included within good governance. So from here, and I'm clearly very biased with respect to the effectiveness of digital governance, so don't take my word for it. These are stats that come directly from the CAI to consider if you are trying to determine whether or not electronic voting or digital governance is right for your community. Firstly, about 32% of communities now have documentation, be it statewide legislation or internal documentation that permits the use of electronic voting for board director elections. Over 32 states explicitly allow for electronic voting, and 49, almost the entire country, allow for remote or virtual meetings. And the owners like it. Look at the adoption stats. If you allow for electronic voting, you will have a massive uptick, presumably, in the participation rate. We see from 20% as high as 80% participation when you offer electronic voting to your community. And then more capable and point-driven solutions. More and more technology is being built. The HOA market is massive. So there is now a massive ecosystem of technology that is built specifically for the unique requirements of the condominium HOA world. So what are some of the challenges that you're leaving behind when you decide that I'm going to be moving from a paper-based, in-person-based meeting format and governance? You're leaving behind high costs. You are leaving behind long meetings and efficiency. You are bringing forward and increasing the accessibility. Maybe you've got snowbird owners that are Canucks and they're not down here during the winter, and you need to have more people that don't live on your community year-round participate. There are compliance rules. There are all sorts of reasons why you would want to consider modernizing your process to allow for and include digital governance. So what are the tools that are available to make managing your community easier? We're going to highlight 5 of them really quickly. The first one's really painfully obvious. and it's consenting to electronic delivery. So you would think in this day and age, everyone would be open to receiving communications electronically. Sadly, this is not the case. I have seen, I within the past month, I saw a $40,000 print job for a notice of meeting. So a community and their owners are paying $40,000 simply to stick letters in the mail to let everybody know that their meeting is coming. To me, it is mind-blowing that this is still going on. It's more than likely that you do not need to canvass your community with paper forms to get a manual signature to move your ownership towards electronic notice of meeting. Now, there are jurisdictions like in the state of Florida, for example, if you do consent to electronic delivery, that your email can become a matter of public record if you get requisitioned. So there are some owners that may have issue with that, and that I understand. However, the majority of owners, I simply believe, do not appreciate the massive cost that comes along with the manual paper-based delivery of governance messages. So the first tool is using electronic platforms to gather consent to reduce your costs associated with notifying owners of meetings. Next, you've got surveys, and this is for, careful here, non-binding decisions. What color is the carpet? What sort of flowers should go into the garden? These sorts of things. Boards and community managers that have the pulse of their communities are those that are solving issues through managing with consensus on issues that allow for it. So tools that allow you to quickly pulse your ownership group will aid in ensuring that you are making decisions that are in the best interest of your community. Next, we've got integration with broader management platforms. So the most innovative management companies these days, they themselves use broad, powerful software to manage their entire portfolio. So digital governance software can and should integrate with these platforms. Examples of these software would be Vantica, Caliber Front Steps, Enumerate, Sync Systems, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's 3 of the 5. Let's move on to the last 2 here. So electronic voting. Let's level set on a definition. It's pretty simple. Electronic voting is allowing your ownership or membership to use electronic means to cast votes and using electronic means to tally those votes. Under the umbrella of electronic voting, there is nuance to be aware of, and much of the nuance is driven by state-specific legislation that dictates what sort of voting is permissible and how it is applied. And so, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the majority of states allow for some form of this technology to be deployed in your community. So the first type of electronic voting we'll talk about is an advanced ballot. This is a ballot that is cast directly by an owner in advance of a meeting. It's used most commonly for director elections. It's usually non-revocable. So once you vote, that's it. You can't take it back. And lastly, it's anonymous. So even in the event of an audit, the paper trail will include a list of people that voted and how those votes were cast, but it will never show you who voted for whom. So it is anonymous and protects the identity of the voters. Next, and in stark comparison to an advanced ballot, we've got the proxy. A proxy is a legal instrument that allows for a member to give another individual authority to act on their behalf at a meeting. Proxies come in all sorts of flavors, but can be broken generally down into 2 categories, a general proxy or a limited. A general proxy gives the proxy holder authorization to vote at their discretion. So I, Ben, can't be at the meeting, giving my proxy to Erika, and Erika can listen to the board speeches, and she picks the best candidate on my behalf. That's a general proxy. By comparison, a limited proxy limits or restricts the proxy holder's ability to vote in accordance with the instructions provided. So I could say, I, Ben, can't go to the meeting, going to appoint Erika as my proxy holder, but I would like Erika, when she's there, to vote in favor of the material alteration or against it, whatever the case may be. So a limited proxy will tell the proxy holder how to vote at the meeting. From there, proxies are commonly used for things like substantive matters, material alterations, financial matters. They are also frequently not allowed to be used for director elections, as most state legislation will favor anonymous ballots for director elections. And then lastly, you've got the real-time electronic vote. So in a virtual or hybrid meeting, or if you're using electronic voting at a purely in-person meeting, a live ballot is exactly as it sounds. It's cast directly by an owner, usually during a prescribed voting period during a meeting. And it follows the same philosophy as the advanced ballot. It's anonymous and non-revocable. From there, we've got virtual meetings. There are all sorts of these. Everything from town halls, which typically have no voting or procedural matters. Rather, they're an opportunity for a community to share their thoughts and opinions on issues they might face. And this allows a community to kind of remove subject matters that require lengthy discussion so as to not have them come up at your director elections or other meetings where you're focused very focused on achieving certain business. Other things you can use virtual meetings for are monthly board meetings. This is typically a smaller group, just the board. Maybe they're lawyers, engineers, other third parties that might need to attend. Board members may not all be at the community. You may have someone living off site. It will vary. So virtual board meetings may also, sorry, a board meeting may also be required to be broadcast to the broader community. There are states that have a mechanism that if your ownership wants to see what's being discussed at the board meeting, there are pieces of legislation that can obligate a board to be able to do this. So having a platform so the board can meet privately when the overwhelming majority of times that's the case, but also to share access to those that might want to attend. And then finally, you've got fully virtual and hybrid elections and AGM. This form of meeting is, think of your annual meeting, your director elections, maybe your budget meeting, wherever there's voting at hand. And so the trick to this is that if you are there in person or if you are attending virtually, you've got the ability to participate in motions, in Q&A, and most importantly, during the voting period. And so everybody, whether you're in person or virtual, has the right and the ability to participate. So my last slide here before we hand it over to Erika. So why would you then consider electronic voting and virtual meetings and the digital governance? Pretty straightforward. You're looking at increased owner participation, improved accessibility for all of your ownership. You're going to reduce your costs. You've got more control over the agenda, the subject matter, who's speaking and when. You get to automate some of your key processes. There's no manual vote counting. It's all done by software, nice and easy. We have taken and we have seen shortened meeting times. We can take 5-hour meetings and run a voting period in 5 minutes. It drastically reduces the meeting times. And then all of the back end stuff, the auditing, the reporting, all of these things that if you're not in a contentious meeting, which 99.9% of meetings are not, you don't think about. It's for the small percentage of owners of board members and communities where there is contention, where there is a requisition meeting, where you do have to provide and justify what has happened in a meeting. That means election, like going through and re-auditing the election. You want to have a database that is bulletproof and has been tested so that the results that you have declared are justified by are justified within the audit. So fortunately for you all, that is it for me. We're going to pass it over to Erika. Erika, thank you for listening to me going on. Thank you for being here, and over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Gaia. This is great. GetQuorum is great. My name is Erika Harper. I'm the Vice President of Digital Transformation at Alliant Association Management. For those who are not familiar with us, Alliant has been serving community associations for more than 20 years. Today, we manage over 200 associations, over 5 local offices across Southwest Florida. So we go all the way from Marco Island up to Venice. Our organization is built around 3 core principles: people, process, and technology. As we continue to grow, we focus heavily on finding technology solutions that help us scale efficiently while improving the experience for our managers, boards, and homeowners. We have actually had a relationship with GetQuorum for nearly 6 years. While we've been only actively using them for the past 2, we knew early on that it had tremendous potential. Once we had the right software partners and integrations in place, it became the right time to fully implement the solution that creates a seamless experience for both our team and our clients. Like other management companies out there, our annual meeting process used to be heavily manual. We were dealing with paper ballots, paper proxies, spreadsheets, sign-in sheets, and a lot of manual tracking. Our team spent a significant amount of time organizing documents, monitoring participation, and following up with homeowners in an effort to achieve quorum. I can speak firsthand on that. I was an admin at one time, and I would have piles of paper in alphabetical order just to try to figure out where we were. So there was also very limited visibility with the boards. Boards would ask where we would stand, and then you would get your pile out and you would count one after the other, mark the date and the time, and how many proxies you had, send out email notifications, try to get as many you can, have people knocking on doors. It was a very time-consuming process to try to get quorum. The one thing I've learned throughout our digital transformation journey is that technology only works when we work together. When we had known the GetQuorum team for years, we wanted to make sure the ecosystem and the integrations that we had before we rolled it out on scale. So, as I said, we were on it with 2 years. We only had a few associations on there to make sure that it was right for us and our clients. After that, we started implementing it across many of our associations, and we have seen a lot of great feedback from our team with that. The biggest benefit wasn't simply moving from paper to digital, it was the impact on our team's time and efficiency. We saw a reduction in admin work associated with annual meetings and elections. Instead of spending time sorting those ballots, tracking proxies, updating spreadsheets, we were able to support our boards and communities. Here in Florida, we are very seasonal, so when it is our season, it is our season. Our process is much more organized and transparent for everyone involved. The communication has also improved, and homeowners have an easier way to participate, and boards have better visibility. So one thing when we're rolling out our feedback, and for anyone who's out there who's in a management company or CAM, feedback from your team is really important. So I reached out to our team, the ones that are using it on a daily basis. I am down to only one association. They use GetQuorum. It's great. We get quorum instantly pretty much now, so it's fun. We can have several membership meetings a year if we wanted to. Don't recommend it, but you can if you need to. So the feedback from our team has been overwhelmingly positive. Our team members share that annual meetings are significantly faster because sign-in and participation tracking are already handled before the meeting begins. Another common theme was the elimination of the manual ballot and proxy processing. We don't spend the time tallying those votes anymore or having your volunteers sitting there counting and miscounting, going back and forth because you've all been there with Mr. Jackson and Mrs. Smith and they can't seem to get the right numbers. So that always takes time. I don't know why, but they just can't get the right numbers together. We saw some tangible results. We had a 239 unit community and only 5 paper ballots needed to be counted on site. Another one with nearly 300 doors, only 10 paper proxies required manual processing. One community actually achieved quorum 3 days before the meeting, which was completely unheard of as that has not happened in previous years. One of the other tools that we use heavily is a survey tool. So communities are actively using the surveys because they're simple to set up. It helps the board make informed decisions while giving homeowners an easy way to share their input. So before I wrap up, I want to share a few lessons that we learned from our experience. Homeowner education is critical. Ben made a joke that, if we were sending out those paper ballots, I don't understand why we receive any kind of mail at all. I think it should be the other way around. It should be illegal to send out mail. That's just insane. Everything should be via email these days. With technology itself, it's intuitive, but many times if you're changing that process that's existed for years, people need to understand why the change is happening. Some people get it, some don't. You got to take the time to educate the homeowners upfront, significantly improves the adoption and the participation. Communicate early, communicate often. Don't wait until the annual meeting notices are sent out to start talking about the process. The more familiar homeowners are with the platform, the smoother the rollout becomes. Still, you're going to need a hybrid approach. You're always going to have a few homeowners who do not want to participate, whether it's for the politics of the community or just because they don't have an email address, even though you see them on Facebook. They still would rather have the paper ballot. I don't get it, but they will. Also, internal team training matters. We have a big team. We have 5 offices. So one of the things that we did early on was I think we begged GetQuorum to like become super users, to get an admin dashboard. Let us be the people that are that bridge the gap. So our team knows to come to myself and another team member if they have any questions. And if we can't help them solve it, or if it's an emergency, we knew who to call on the GetQuorum side and they answer for us. So it's been great to have that team approach to everything. But you want to make sure everyone is on the same page and train everyone, it's hard to, it's hard. You have one manager who does it one time a year. So if you have those admins who can actually do it on multiple associations and they're hopefully on multiple people, it's truly a game changer on that. It creates consistency also across the organization. It creates a stronger partnership with GetQuorum, and it helps the boards, and those boards will have the trust in you. So to summarize my experience with GetQuorum, it would be that it has helped us spend less time managing the annual meeting process and more time serving our communities. It's reduced the administrative workload, improved the visibility for boards, increased homeowner participation, and created a better experience for managers, board members, and homeowners. That's what successful technology is. So it's not just digitizing the process, but making it easier, more efficient, and more valuable for everyone involved. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Erika. Definitely appreciate you being here. If you're looking to reach out to Alliant Association Management, Erika, is it entirely the state of Florida, these guys these days, or are you branching out? What?
We are always branching out. We just opened our office in Venice. So we are currently in the middle of a rebrand for those who do know us and see our new logo. We're working on that before we do branch out, but the answer is usually never no. And we're here to help anyone. We have consulting hours. So if you just wanted to call, ask some questions, we are here to help.
Very good. So you can find Alliant there. And then with respect to GetQuorum, you can reach me or you can reach us at contact@getquorum.com. And then lastly, right before we get to QA, GetQuorum does offer CE accredited sessions in DC, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. We're working on a few more states as well. So if you're interested in having us come into your office or virtually, we're always more than willing to do so. Okay, pretty close to 26 minutes. So as promised, we are under 30 minutes, Galila. Are there any questions we can answer?
Yeah, we have a few questions that have come in. Thank you so much. This has been a great presentation. So yeah, we'll open the floor for some questions now. The first question, the first question that has come in, Charles said, sounds like what you offer will overlap with other communication platforms. Does any aspect of the services offered overlap with MailChimp?
Well, certainly we are a platform that is best considered for providing governance related communication. So when your community has a legal obligation to provide notification, GetQuorum in the same way that MailChimp could, I suppose, will mass email your ownership group. But we also provide you with an audit log so that you're able to, in the event that an owner says, well, I didn't receive the email, you can ask GetQuorum and we'll say, well, this person did receive the email. They clicked on it 5 times, including 2 minutes before they came into your office to complain about not having received the email. So it certainly can displace MailChimp for communications, for governance related stuff. It can displace a lot of our clients have Zoom licenses of their own. Working with GetQuorum, we totally displace Zoom. You get a Zoom license with GetQuorum, so you can have a massive town hall or you can have a private meeting. All of these things are included with the Zoom license. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. The other question is, do you check for state compliance when connected to an association if electronic voting is an option for them?
Yes and no. So broadly speaking, there are no states that we are aware of that do not permit, like explicitly have legislation that says you are not able to do this. There are some, like California has some weak legislation, so you can do electronic voting, but the virtual meeting aspect is not explicitly permitted. The majority of states either have what we would say like green legislation. In other words, they've explicitly said You can do this, or gray area legislation, which you would use to say, okay, so the principle is really, does an electronic signature on a proxy, is that legally binding? And so most states that don't have condo law that covers this will have an electronic signature act. It's the same thing that allows you to sign into your bank and do financial transactions. So there, in the overwhelming number of cases, we will and are able to deliver our service. We are not lawyers. We cannot provide you with a legal opinion. But if you call us and say, I'm from Idaho and I need to understand if I can do this here, we will absolutely help you out. But it's also best to work in conjunction with your community legal counsel.
Awesome. We're having more questions that are coming in, and I know we're like close to time, but I'll read a couple of those and then I'll forward the rest of the questions to Ben and Erika, and they will follow up with you afterwards. The other question is, if an owner does not elect to accept electronic noticing, will those letters go out in the mail by GetQuorum?
That's up to the client. What we do is we would email everybody, and then the client, which is typically so we are more contracted with the individual community rather than at the property management company level. Each community decides whether or not they would like to use us. So it's really the property, the CAM is really the one that's our point of contact. They will make the call. You got your local print shop that you like and you want to do electronic with us and work with your local printer, great. If you want us to execute the printing, then we are integrated with HOA mailers, which is the very best in the States for print-based distribution. So we have integration with them. So we would email to the group that's consented and then issue instructions to HOA mailers, and they would execute the hard copy printing. So you get kind of like the best of both worlds there.
The other question is, does the HOA purchase this service from GetQuorum or Alliant? And then there's another follow-up question after that as well.
Erika, I believe it's GetQuorum, but perhaps you should be getting something to that effect.
Yeah, so when we did it early on, we've kind of done both ways. So originally it was through Alliant, and then that just becomes a lot of paperwork. So we do work with GetQuorum, because I did see another question on there. If you're an association, as the management company, we were able to work with GetQuorum to negotiate prices on behalf of all of our clients. So right now, GetQuorum does bill our clients directly.
And the service agreement is I believe, always signed by the signing authority of the individual community. Sometimes the CAM may have authority to bind given the price of the contract. Other times it's the board president. So there's a question, do we contract with the property management company? No, it's with the individual community.
Awesome. Well, looking at the time here, that is all the time we have for Q&A. So I'll just go ahead for closing remarks. Like I said, the rest of the questions that have come in, I will forward to Ben and Erika, so you will get an answer. So don't feel like you've been left out. Thank you so much, Ben and Erika, for this wonderful presentation. On behalf of CAI, I would also like to thank GetQuorum and Alliant as well for your time today. And thank you as well to everyone who joined us. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar will be emailed to all registrants, so please keep an eye out for that. Thank you again, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.